good. Success.
On its face, No More Heroes is something I should have played years ago. A bloody action game where a stylish main character swings a sword. He's customizable and pets cats. Well, that's like half my favorite thing. The problem is, it's actually an existential crisis simulator where the greasy doofus main character murders human beings than monologues about it. It's more disturbing than badass. And to be clear, that's fine too. But it's like ordering a double-double and getting a black.
Oh, yeah, that's heady. That's rich. Oh, Papa Nicholas, let's get it!
These were made by Goichi Suda, pseudonym Suda51, and his team at Grasshopper Manufacture. If you're a frequent follower, you might remember them from Shining Soul, soccer-playing dirtbag. Suda's one of gaming's most well-known auteurs, and has a body of work stretching back to '94. No More Heroes is also part of his Kill the Past series, which is more of a life work than a series that, in as few words as possible, is about leaving the past behind to grow. It's a postmodern work. The medium is the message, and video games are the medium. It ain't that complicated. But if I'm being honest, I'd really rather not with this stuff. Or the fanbase, or anybody. Posting anything online always brings out the most joyous and love-filled people. You know the ones, the people who can't wait to correct me on Suda's work actually stretching back to '93. Like, look at yourself. No More Heroes historian? Take a pill, bro. Get it together. Because we're here to talk about No More Heroes, not Towai Raito Shindoromu, whatever the kids are calling it these days. It's my first time experiencing the series. I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, just reporting my findings. The sales numbers already rolled in, okay? We're cool. My favorite No More Heroes fun fact is that it wasn't supposed to be a series at all. Suda himself stated that it was a one and done, but the sales were too good, and as much as he liked making new things and art, you know, kickstarting a franchise trademark is kind of a big deal. So here we are, 4 games later, and boy howdy does that tidbit hit after playing the games. So let's get it started, bro. Let's go.
It's game time.
No More Heroes, more than many games, frames itself as game first. Travis is already pulling superhuman action schmoes, killing people indiscriminately. He calls his own actions a game. You're given a tutorial right off the hop before you're even given the chance to move freely through the level. It's not integrated like many modern game tutorials are. Given the intro, the game's playing at parity. This is the typical gamer, someone generally unconcerned with their kill count, with the morality of their actions. Buddy even quotes his favorite shoujo anime with his special moves.
Strawberry on the shortcake!
He's a kid with a katana, and if it wasn't obvious, the realism isn't really the point. Travis can power up via an inexplicable slot machine giving him Super Saiyan hair or raging demon type and that just happens at random. And it's gonna stay like that for the whole game, so, I mean, can you imagine if CinemaSins did this game? He'd die in seconds. In case you're wondering what the plot is, No More Heroes hides its inciting incident from the player with a vague gesture at the night before where Travis got drunk, met Sylvia, who offered him a chance at revenge for what we don't know, and signed up to become the #1 assassin in the UAA, or United Association of Assassins, by killing everyone else on the roster. So off he goes in his ridiculous Akira motorbike to paint the town red. The player runs through missions, grinds up money with crummy part-time work to greenlight new missions, and that's the game. It's simple enough. You get the sense that the focus was more on the narrative, you know, what the game is trying to convey, with visuals, stylistic decisions, gameplay, taking a dump at a basic level. No More Heroes is more interesting than many games just for that. So, cool stuff, Suda. Let's see what you do with that. Well, I don't see any problem with that. Before I drop a recommendation, though, the truth is you gotta vibe with these games if you're gonna play them for any length of time. They're similar to other stylish, big-budget action games, but it's mostly superficial. They're mechanically simplistic, not overly challenging. You don't need to invest in skill as deeply as Devil May Cry, or in knowledge as deeply as Ninja Gaiden. Not that it's boring or unfun, I had a great time in this one, mashing combos into hapless idiots with chunky sound effects and weighty hits activate chimp brain neuron ook, and adding to that dopamine rush, enemies explode into fountains of money and blood. You can even stun dudes and pull pro wrestling moves on them. Well, you know what they say. Put the stuff you love in your game.
Yeah!
And if we're being honest, that's what people really love about the series, not the combat. Good luck finding a No More Heroes combo video or skill showcase. Characters at the forefront, it's in the display case, so let's interrogate it. Cel-shaded visuals do a lot of heavy lifting here. Santa Destroy might be a shitty city, but at least it looks cartoony, gamey, smooth enough to cake the grit. Just look at the PS3 remaster. What the f is this shit? Ew! Even the characters ride the line between realistic and cartoony so well. For as stony as they look in cutscenes, probably owing to animation limitations, characteristic, charismatic, and cute moments still bleed through.
Mr. Sir Henry motherfucker, he just jetted. What a pussy.
You have no idea how internally painful this is, having to bleep No More Heroes to make a buck? Travis, I'm sorry, man. Interplay really drives the game, and by that I mean cutscenes. I couldn't wait to see what horrendous, insidious, absolutely diabolical filth was up next. The voice acting does work here, too. I can't believe Travis's casting. It's literally perfect. This unbelievably competent fighter who's guaranteed to win every battle, or else the game would end, even though he's a total boob. And they stick him with this voice.
But vengeance begets vengeance.
Travis, please. Let's talk about Travis. What is this character? I put off No More Heroes for years because, no joke, Travis looked like a greasy creep. Now, I like this game, but I'm not saying my opinion's any different. This is a man who watches kids anime, collects all kinds of crap, acts way too cool for it all, and drools over Sylvia the whole game. You just know she's got him caged. It's excruciating. I love his apartment, just the concept of it. You can't do anything substantive, but you can play with the cat. It's cool that Travis is a cat guy. That's how you know he's good people. He can't fall into the trap of neglecting his f***ing dog in the backyard so it barks all day. And you collect so much junk over the course of the game. It's so... yes, in this world of demented killers, corporate corruption, and the crushing reality of the grind, at least I have my silly little things. Preach, bro. Let him know! Travis as a character rejects the platonic ideal of an action game protag. He's unreasonably skilled and a total dork. What did you expect? It's called No More Heroes. There are no heroes. Heroines. And it goes deeper than Travis being a bum, but part of dispelling the illusion of heroism happens between missions. Basically, Travis is both poor, financially irresponsible, and a simp. It is extremely unsurprising that this character is popular online. On top of all that stuff, every fight has an absurd entry fee, so you have to do manual labor and other side gigs to get back to playing the game. One of the major points of contention with critics is the city. The between mission segments where you do a lot of really fun stuff to make a bunch of money, then blow it all to play the game again. Even I had trouble with it initially because I just wanted to play. It's actually kind of infuriating being told to put your enthusiasm on hold and go fill up cars for a while. Just really enjoying my time here. There's all kinds of weird side jobs, and really, by the end, you'll find a couple high-efficiency murder missions that pay extremely well for little effort. It's not miserable, and it can be fun watching this guy mow the lawn. No, I'm not explaining that. Real ones know, and the benefit of all this downtime annoyance is a game that feels less repetitive than it actually is. If you ran every level back to back, well, that's No More Heroes 2, and I'll save it for then. To the game's credit, variance is clearly important to the devs, and the main missions tend to swap up the challenge. You start out slow with hallways and kill rooms, that's the bedrock, but you'll be playing through baseball mini-games, non-sequitur shmup sections, motorcycle segments, and others by the end. What the hell was that? That was bullshit. And naturally, the missions cap off with boss battles. Boss fights are the whole point of most action games. They're tests of skill, endurance, that kind of thing, and they're always tacked onto cool characters or hinge on story beats. So No More Heroes unceremoniously hucks all that crap in the trash. I remember being actually angry that the one boss, for all that buildup, gets iced right in front of you. You don't even get to fight the other guy. Like, I just deposited $300,000 I earned into your bank account game, so maybe it doesn't do away with cool bosses, it just plays with the concept of bosses. Their real strength is being charismatic. Every boss is bizarre. One of the earliest dudes intros with a song.
That's an A4! What the fuck?
I don't want to break down every single fight because other people have done it better, so let's leave it at this. The bosses make for pretty average battles. Some of them are tougher than others, but the game isn't going to leave you stranded like it's Beautiful Joe or something. They're all possible, but make sure you upgrade your beam katana and go to the gym. The most interesting feature of the bosses is how disposable they are in the story. The plot of the game explicitly doesn't care about them. They're almost completely unbelievable. They're more like symbols wrapped in skin for Travis to interact with, each one highlighting something about the world, containing a truth about the nature of his work and goals. For example, the first boss, Ganondorf here, contrasts the upstart Travis who looks around at the wealth and sees paradise.
This is no paradise.
His character is the hard reality that what was earned with blood, everything on screen, is a tomb, a monument to sin. Everything material is hollow. Dr. Peace here couldn't reconcile his bloodlust with his family. He lost everything truly meaningful in the pursuit of a demented addiction for violence. Destroy Man is posed as a comic book superhero, but he's the most outwardly evil thing in the game, as though posturing is inherently villainous behavior. Holly Summers is a respectable enemy who vibes with Travis, but due to the nature of their work and the need for a body, Travis begins to meaningfully understand that his work is vile. And to be clear, as a viewer, none of this is really surprising or interesting. I agree about Destroy Man. Beware of people posturing in all the little ways people do it. But Travis suddenly understanding that murder is gross and bad is kind of like, I don't know, it makes you wonder if he's just a sociopath. Like, that's inherent human stuff, my guy. If anything, these characters serve as condemnations of the real world. Volodarsky's show might be ridiculous, but Bloodsport's a time-honored human tradition. We love that stuff. We still do that on Twitter. And that kill theft from earlier is genuinely interesting for what it says about Travis. For all the killing he does, he's still concerned with the rules of combat, a fair fight, above everything. He never gets to cheat or trick anybody. He beats them all in raw combat. It's naive, but true to gamers, people who tend to create rules and restrictions for themselves over the games they play. Spamming projectile isn't a tactic, it is disrespect. No summoning in Dark Souls or you didn't beat it. People who reinforce that you're not really playing the game unless you're on hard mode. It's worthwhile as parody. In fact, the one character Travis spares throughout this entire journey is a young girl who exudes the same values as himself, even though she's bent on revenge. I like that scene for fleshing out Travis just a bit more, because given all previously understood information, he's a remorseless killer, and why the hell would he spare someone? Maybe there's more to him after all. Alright, cut to the bad girl fight. You might have noticed I'm not doing much damage here, and that's because I went in Naomi's shop once, assumed it was a cosmetic thing, and never went back. I only leveled up at the gym. Yes, I accidentally did a challenge run of No More Heroes 1, and I still had fun. That bad girl fight was miserable. We're talking 25 real-life minutes of concentrated combat. I was convinced the game was pulling a prank on me, but it turns out I'm just stupid. On the flip side, at this point, I understood at a spiritual level what it meant to become the No More Hero. The game won me over. I had fun anyway and pushed through because the challenge was exhilarating. The ending's where things fall apart, though. I was more confused by the final sequence than anything else. Like with the beam katana, I'm prone to missing things. But no, you're sent out to kill number 1, Darkstar, a guy who introduces himself as your father and dies in seconds. Why? Why even say those words? He literally isn't Travis's father. Was the need to pull a Darth Vader reference that important to a cohesive cutscene? It's really only acceptable because the player, at this point, is unaware of the game's inciting incident. But Travis knows his father. Like, give me a break with this shit. And he shuffled off screen because he's another fake out. The real final boss is your sister, Jean. I have to repeat this because it comes up a lot in Creative Writing 101. Hiding basic information from the reader, or in this case the player, that is never meaningfully hinted at or otherwise inferable, doesn't make for a good twist. Like, it can work if the twist recontextualizes the story in a new way, but it really doesn't here. This is a character we don't know, but Travis should, and does. It's actually kind of insufferable because we're meant to believe that Travis conveniently forgot all about his parents, his own siblings, the reason he went killing these bosses for the UAA in the first place. And all of this happens directly after learning that the UAA isn't real, and Sylvia apparently staged the fights to make money. Like, not even one single element of this framing works. You can't hide Jean from the player. Travis knows who she is. You can't hide Travis's father from the player. Travis knows who he is. You can't make all these characters participate in fake tournament battles. It's impossible that everyone's just a great actor. They all acknowledge that they're assassins, that these fights are legitimate. Even the rules of the fights are acknowledged. They cannot be farce. It doesn't work. In short, No More Heroes doesn't give a f about believability. It cares about wrapping up symbolism in flesh and entertaining interplay between the protagonist and those symbols. So I shrugged. What you gonna do? I said the game was operating as parody, and if that's the case, the ending is perfect. It does a whole fast-forward exposition dump about Jean's backstory. It does a fakey twist that we can't possibly accept. It acknowledges that everything we've done so far in-game was totally meaningless, just senseless, sadistic violence done in service to a vapid, evil gold digger. You're no hero. You're an idiot. If No More Heroes was supposed to be a one-off game, what better way to end a scathing critique of the gamer concept than give him the finger guns and call him f***ing stupid? It's even deeper than that. Henry Cooldown, Travis's brother and Sylvia's wife, apparently has a secret fight that I missed because I didn't upgrade my beam sword, and simply clicking view ending ends the playthrough then and there. Are you f***ing serious, my guy? Henry's supposed to contrast Travis in almost every way. He's a composed individual of deliberate action, inexplicably Irish, a foreigner. Many people before me have established a pattern in Suda's work. The East versus West is a recurring theme, and the specific reading of Travis is a sort of samurai. If we take Suda's own words on Travis being akin to a modern-day samurai with his little code of honor into consideration, Henry's the knight to Travis's samurai. What makes this comparison interesting is that both Japanese samurai and English knights are painted with extremely flattering words, legendarily storied in pop culture and myth, but the historical realities of both are horrifying. Samurai participated in roadside killings, actual blood sport, terrorized the populace when they could get away with it, because that's what happens when you give one class of person in society a weapon, a monopoly of power, and few to be held accountable towards. And that's true of knights as well. Chivalry was quite literally established to keep the dirtbags in check. That historical reality parallels well with these characters, Travis especially, because he makes such a fuss about doing things fairly, being a good person where he can, but it's all hypocrisy. Empty, hollow bullshit, because he's just a murderer. The killing isn't a game. Criminals or not, those are real people he's painting with. Being an assassin, or samurai, or a knight isn't something to aspire to, and you need to kill the past. Chuck that shit in the trash to move on. Oh. It makes sense now. And that's what the second game explores in greater detail. 2's got a cold open if I ever saw one. This entry catches a lot of flack, and sometimes for good reason, but the usual line is, well, Suda wasn't all that hands-on for this game. So I did a little digging, and there it is. He's credited as executive director, but his actual role was handling the character script and scenario, which means his role was mostly cutscene relevant. Well, that sucks, because plausible deniability no longer exists for 90% of my criticism. Revenge is the theme of the day. It's the major theme of the work, and it's palpable from cutscene 1. You're made to kill the brother of the guy from the first game's intro. A guy so irrelevant, he died in a trailer. That's like the shittiest guy. And that's a great intro, because old fans should know exactly who this is. That single act of senseless violence, and as far as we know, Travis's very first kill actually rippled. The guy spells it out. You can't kill without consequence. Even gives him Bishop's head in a box. You know, Bishop, the guy from the video store. Apparently Travis's only real friend. That's a huge step up narratively. I like the first game, but he clearly isn't interested in verisimilitude. It's much more conceptual as a universe, which works for some people just fine, but I like fiction to act like its own premises matter. Wait a minute. The UAA, the fictional organization fabricated by Sylvia to make money off idiots and party all the time, is real this time. Suddenly my blood is sodium. Whatever, it wasn't supposed to be a series. They're course correcting to tell a more convincing story. Let's just check out the game. You know, I originally thought the combat, which is 95% of the gameplay, was too weighty and slow. Just miserable, because Travis blazed through enemies in the first game. His combos flowed like hot fudge on a sundae. Oh god, I'm infected. Listen, you're gonna have to take me out. No, do it! But by the end, I got into a real groove with the varied weapon options and putting dudes in the schmicks. And it's not like No More Heroes is a technical showcase game, okay? I'm not on the hook to perform crazy combos. You hit, build up, and pay off. Just splurt damage. It's a surprisingly enjoyable game to play, and in some fans' minds, I'm sure they think 2's the ideal sequel, cutting back the bullshit and focusing on satisfying swordplay. But the truth is, No More Heroes 2 doesn't need a 10-minute review, barely needs 5, because all the actual value is found in analyzing characters and theorizing about the Sudaverse. Talking about Travis, everything else is severely cut back or budgeted out entirely. Combat works, the new weapons are fun. Playing as Shinobu isn't all that fun, though it's permissible, but the stages are generally linear and mostly devoid of the weird diversions characteristic of the first game. In some ways, it feels like a $60 apology to the wrong crowd. People who really like No More Heroes want more of the first, not less. And people who want an A+ action game should go play Ninja Gaiden already. I'm tired of yelling about it. I'll give you an example. Mowing the lawn, filling up cars. Not really fun, but at least it's interesting. There's something genuinely original and charming about doing the most mundane crap imaginable in a game like this. You give Ryu Hayabusa a lawnmower, he'll saw people's faces off. You give it to Dante, and he'll find a way to land a 100-hit air combo with it. And if you think all this sounds fun or cool, take your goblin mode pills and chill out. The beauty lies in contrast, in chopping off heads, in doing chores, in subverting the hero. And even though Suda promised big things for Santa Destroy, almost everything was cut and replaced with a menu. You lose everything about the world that was interesting. Santa Destroy may have been an incomplete vision, a cardboard city in practice, but the missions of No More Heroes games tend to be repetitive by design, and players need a break. It's hard to do hallway slasher missions back to back without getting bored. Other action games like Ninja Gaiden get to rely on vertical movement, the general difficulty, hidden treasures, and a fairly complex system to carry players through missions. If you like what this game's putting down, I got just the recommendation. Drakengard! I am begging you to find even one difference between these two. So turning No More Heroes 2 into missions and a city menu where you can select either a clothing store or a couple minigame hubs is maybe the most spiritually frustrating thing for the series so far. I mean, sure, made my life easier, but at what cost? Can we not do this? To be fair to the devs, they made the cat fat. Sorry, morbidly obese, and they implemented a series of minigames to make her healthy again. Honestly, great work here, guys. This is awesome. The last major menu item, the money grind. I have no problem with the gym and its level up system in general, except that it's tied to completing a dexterity test more difficult than the game itself, just throwing that out there real quick, and you have to pay to play, so you know what, no need for lube. I'm used to it now. It's worth mentioning that the only reason I ended up having fun with the thing is a particularly kind individual linked me the most efficient money grinding minigame with all the solutions. Cause let me tell you, I was ready to hurl myself out a window after losing the first one I tried. That was awful. At least the bosses are kinda cool. Like the first game, you could dedicate entire analysis videos to the bosses. Suda clearly cares about referencing films, culture, anime, anything he likes really, and the bosses in the first game particularly drove Travis's character development, teasing out his worldview and enabling his maturation. Is that a word? Maturation. Even if there wasn't all that much maturing to realistically do. In the sequel, the bosses are mostly irrelevant dickheads who go down so fast it's embarrassing, or they're extremely annoying, relying on obnoxious gimmicks that break the pace of the fight. The Gundam battle, the horror slasher reference, Dr. Let's Shake, Mimi, who you fight with Henry, even the first Shinobu boss, all of them go down with minimal effort.
Execution level next, no way to explain it. I'm XXX, triple X rated.
And the rest use sweeping attacks, control-wrenching stuns, put the fight on freeze by retreating out of bounds, or require precise dodge timing. None of these are outright awful, and the game has some killer fights, but they're not consistently great, like Bad Girl, Shinobu, Jean, even Death Metal, and Holly Summers. I think it's the reliance on boring gimmicks that... Actually, how did no one catch that? You ever fought New Destroy Man? Tell me someone fun-tested that. The value lies in certain bosses down the line. The whole game pushes the concept of revenge, and Travis is a legend, the No More hero, somebody who got to the top of the rankings and walked. Every boss knows who he is and wants him dead. They look at him like he looked at the bosses of the first game. Mostly. Several of the endgame bosses aren't yuppies, but weathered warriors. It's the global power rankings, remember, not just Santa Destroy this time. And I think a lot of these characters hit home for players. I found tons of comments on YouTube and forums about how this or that boss character made them cry. Usually Holly Summers from 1, the Russian dude, and the General Grievous girl. Characters who don't deserve cruel deaths, but get them anyway. And I'm not trying to take that away from people, but none of this works if you don't buy the world, the story the game is selling. And frankly, I don't. There's a famous scene where Travis has had enough of all this UAA crap and shrieks at Sylvia.
Even if we are assassins, doesn't matter if it's a video game, movie, drama, anime, manga, we're alive!
And I'm sorry, but shut the f up, Travis. You participate in, perpetuate, and progress the cause of the UAA constantly. You actively bought into it in the first game for the light promise of revenge. And again here, to vaguely find the killers who murdered your friend Bishop. And you're still chasing Sylvia despite the last game's events. Maybe I'm a dumbass, but if you really wanted to kill the past and grow as a person, you wouldn't engage in egregious violence, roping in a whole roster of unrelated people when you already know it doesn't pay off. You've known that since the first game. Shoot, they could have used Sylvia as a damsel. Literally any other inciting incident that didn't make Travis look like a kid who hasn't learned shit.
This is why I don't think it's worth looking at the characters as believable people or trying to untangle their contradictory on-screen actions. They're a lot like certain play characters who live and die as they enter and exit the stage. That whole assassins are people scene, the games in general, work as meta-commentary on the banality and frequency of video game violence. I mean, I only have two choices: play or don't. It's a fine piece of commentary, though. If we abstract the concepts a bit, it's not hard to draw parallels to the real world where the player, us, the average person, feels trapped and complicit in a system we ultimately can't change except by doing what seems impossible, exiting entirely. No, I found subtext in No More Heroes. Help. Help! And I can totally accept the uniqueness of gameplay being mostly curtailed for broad appeal. Even Travis retreading narrative beats because the game's been acting like the first didn't happen in all sorts of ways, from openly accepting Sylvia to the UAA retcon, but 2's got the exclusive honor of being the first openly disgusting No More Heroes game. Originally, I had a whole segment planned before I learned about Suda's actual work on 2, where I would have lambasted the new directors for not understanding what No More Heroes was and reducing it to an exaggerated caricature of its worst qualities. But if he handled the scenario writing, I mean,
Look, all I'm saying is if No More Heroes 1 is the women be shopping of video games, No More Heroes 2 is the
Grab him by the foot.
of video games.
No More Heroes 1 was grimy, insalubrious, gross sometimes, but often that was at Travis's expense, or just run-of-the-mill perving. Fair enough. Sex is a normal part of life and helps paint Travis as a person. Works with the game's conceit about heroism. 2 really takes it somewhere special, though. You know, really transcendentally vile. That's what I like to see. Yes, Travis, you should carve up those 2 women along with your rival in this battle between men, okay? Women are accessories. No one cares if they're brutalized. Certainly not the United States Congress. Shinobu was such a cool character, a deadly serious outsider. Really hard fight the first time, and Travis spared her because she was young, but it was begrudging. Like, why let me live? I can't live with this pain. Real dramatic stuff. That's why she's back, calling Travis her master in a cutesy voice, acting generally subservient, and forcing herself on the man she should be taking revenge on, like Skelter Helter. You know what? This is empowering. Now she's interesting, okay? That old self, total drag. What a snore. Who knew kill the past meant cup the balls? Since we're doing objectification, like, ironically, you know, for fun, I think the game would benefit a ton from a gratuitous ass shot while a scantily clad woman is sliced into pieces and the camera's trained on her jiggling. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And look, I know I just triggered a dislike storm. Probably from the people who think this is controversial. Okay, go to the end game. Remember, Pizza Butt? Yeah, that old joint. Number 1, Santa Destroy pizza chain. Pizza Butt, whose goons you killed all through one side missions. Turns out the CEO, Jasper Bat Jr., head of Pizza Bat, wants revenge. Really? You leave all that other stuff in, but had to call it Pizza Bat? What, did Pizza Hut slap you with a cease and desist? This boss is cool because... What the fuck?! I'm so bummed. 2 started rough, and even though I ended up liking the gameplay just fine, in a junk food kind of way, the story really isn't doing it for me. Suda's work is rich with symbols and references, many tokens of importance imparting greater meaning to the work in some. And that's really it. What if, this whole game, Travis is preparing to leave it all behind, become increasingly disgusted with what he's become? What if free-falling at the end of the final fight is him accepting that it's over? What if it's decent art? It's hard to say. Regardless of any meaning intended or read into, it's still an average action title without the scope of the original, and significantly grimier to experience. I think it's time to figure out why I like this series at all.
Dude, this animation is so cool. I'm getting hyped just watching this. Please do more of these. And they never come back. I'm not sure what to think about Travis Strikes Again. I've watched reviews and heard a lot of fan opinions on the thing, and playing it left me pretty disquieted. That's a word. Quieted of this variety. Like, it started okay. Suda's back at the wheel, and this time he's only got 2 dimes and a paperclip, so peak Suda conditions achieved, this'll be a banger. But it turned boring, even annoying fast, and the general vibe of the game got so dark so quickly. As a game, I wouldn't recommend it to almost anyone but fans. That's who it was made for anyway. Normies hit the road. As a piece of art, though, I think it holds up better than most of No More Heroes as a series, but only if you're willing to marinate in it. So, in case you're interested, and not skipping ahead to part 3, like a jack-off, Travis Strikes Again is a spin-off in terms of core gameplay, but still relevant to the canon of the series. It goes for a steeper price than enough people are willing to pay, but if you're purely into No More Heroes for material reasons, like the typical gameplay loop, I guess, you're probably not going to be thrilled with it. A lot of awkward history informs this game. There's a solid 9-year gap between Travis Strikes Again and 2. What happened? Suda got busy, questionable sequel sales, things fall apart, and No More Heroes was lost for nearly a decade. And now it's back, a lot more reflective, a lot less bloody. Still uncomfortable, though. Probably maximally uncomfortable, in fact.
Shut up, Grandpa. I'll eat my Big Mac. I'll eat my Big Mac and die.
Basically, Travis is alone in the woods, having left his wife, family, and the assassin life behind when Bad Man, dad of Bad Girl, shows up looking for his head. They get sucked into a cursed video game console, and I swear to God, if you make fun of this setup, let me remind you that Travis is constantly bumbling through idiot premises and surviving explosives. He's a cartoon character with fewer curves. Anyway, completing all the cursed Death Drive console games will grant the gamer a wish. Just fucking roll with it, okay? Just shut up! Having the game take place in a series of game worlds opens up a lot of interesting avenues in line with No More Heroes as a series. They've always included the iconography of and segments replicating old video games. Suda loves old games and indies too. That's part of the value here. A lot of the game is weird, experimental, idiosyncratic. It's not always tightly designed or player considerate, but it's hard to hate on Suda. The team specifically behind this title was smaller than usual. The budget seems non-existent, and Grasshopper deserves some respect at a baseline. They're one of the few essential studios based in Japan like Vanillaware and the sadly lesser-known Sting that push to make original works, actual art in a medium and market long suffering from a plague of focus-tested crowd pleasers. You know, if everyone's got vanilla glaze, Suda's got sprinkles. And if you've been watching the footage here but never played the thing, you can imagine the backlash it got on release. Unbelievably shitty things were said about the game and its creator. I think it's a little too common to imagine art in a vacuum, like factors external to the product just don't affect the art. Suda can drum up 30 mil, no problem, right guys? I used to be like that too, years ago, but I don't want to slide too much to Grasshopper's side either. It's rough coming back after a massive hiatus and bringing people whatever this is, no matter what the budget was. All reviewers really have is what's on offer. So let's talk about the meat. There's not much going on with basic gameplay this time around. It's an isometric slasher. You can literally hold your light attack to slash forever. You have heavy swings. You can dodge and use abilities. The team clearly did their best to make killing feel and sound meaningful, but there's no pathos in killing glitches. Travis is still killing, but it's just software bugs. The blood and coins that spouted from enemies parodied gaming and its obsession with hitting dopamine receptors, and it just doesn't hit the same like this. And guys, please make your enemies stagger so I'm not incentivized to land one hit and roll on repeat forever. The levels range wildly from casual fun to white heart rage.
I can't believe the ups and downs, man. It goes from silly hack-and-slash computer bug-killing adventure to a door-filled Resident Evil mansion, and you will be expected to open 95% of the doors and remember where they are and how to get there and which ones you've been through. Grab a pen and paper. This is a warning. There's a Diablo-esque dark fantasy segment. There's an entirely new control scheme to master, a racing game segment. You're never stuck on the same thing for long, but these are homages, not necessarily enlightening or brilliant, just fun day trips to memories of gaming's yesteryears. And while the boss battles are pretty decent overall, they're nothing new for isometric action games. Just press the advantage and dodge a lot. The only real addition to combat is this ability panel. You can slot up to 4 abilities to make little builds for different parts of the game. I got real familiar with this feature because at one point an enemy glitched under the elevator and I literally had to try everything to get the game moving again. So don't come in here questioning my mechanical prowess. I poked around and found my own goddamn solution. Doing your work for you, Grasshopper. You're welcome. All these little side bits exist. Faxes from various characters, t-shirts for Travis, collectible ramen entries. It's a quirky game, but that's most apparent in the meat of the story. See, TSA has no budget, and it's nostalgic for the past, in a series about killing the past. So it's gonna make you sit and read bizarre, pixelated text crawls for upwards of 15 minutes per in stark green at 2 a.m. on your overly backlit TV until you absolutely despise the past. Okay, it's fine. Actually, the script is really good. I like getting to read something that doesn't feel like it was written for robots or Puritans or idiots. That's so rare in gaming. All the games tend to mimic human speech kind of unconvincingly, but this stuff's great all around. I don't want to spoil the thing. It really goes off the wall. Even Epona from Zelda shows up. That's just straight up disrespectful. Dragging Zelda into your filth. Come on, guys. Play nice. Though it wore on me the first time I experienced it, and for obvious reasons. I didn't understand the game because it's made primarily for Suda fans. Characters from past games, not No More Heroes, kill the past writ large. They'll just show up without warning. It creates friction for new viewers. The outgroup actively excludes a certain strata of the audience from proper enjoyment by requiring them to do a mountain of homework for the labyrinthine references on offer. It just doesn't make for clean-cut storytelling, constantly wondering who this is or why they're important or what's happening. It's a strange entry in the Kill the Past lineup, even considered required reading for fans. I don't see a lot of past killing on screen, though. Sure, the bosses represent their eras of gaming, ideals, whatever, things Travis puts down, but the game still breathes life into them, treats them respectfully for the most part. It's a deeply nostalgic game. Travis also runs from his problems he created, mind you, by camping out in the woods. I brought up that No More Heroes wasn't intended to be a series originally, and I can't prove, but feel strongly that this entry rebels against its own series intentionally. Suda was known for truly bizarre, artistic games, some still ranked among connoisseur favorites, including the infamous Killer 7. Now imagine being locked into the pressure of producing one kind of thing, because it's the one kind of thing that sold well, that greenlit publishers support. I don't even think Suda dislikes No More Heroes, or what it became. If you get fans of any kind, you're thankful for it, but the overwhelming impression from release day backlash to the game's own text paints Travis Strikes Again as the real one and done, a piece defined by its love for uniqueness and disdain for corporatization, something that necessarily cannot survive the market conditions it operates within. So do you want to go eat marshmallows and sit out in the woods? After all the text I've been reading, all this suppressive stuff and condemnatory advice and frustrated game dev opinions, I'm thinking time off would be good. I've never seen this man so devoid of life. After playing, I had conflicted thoughts about the intention of the work. On one hand, Suda seems deeply frustrated with game dev in general, but so obviously loves the medium. And I guess that's easy to understand. Everything good eventually leaves a sour taste in your mouth if you love it enough, hang around long enough to see its flaws. It takes genuine love, not that f***ing Hallmark real love, to stick with something through the good and the bad. As a younger person, I was dumb for thinking love only meant being treated well, respected, all that other stuff unconditionally. But real love, I think, is being thought of strongly. That heart-wrenching tension is what the game conveys best. And the struggles with game dev are illustrated pretty clearly with Dr. Juvenile, especially culminating in the one incomplete level, the one level I actually really enjoyed, aside from it being short, just encapsulating everything I love about being someone who plays games, like poking around in the environment, finding secret ways. It worked best for me, and it was over so quickly. Though I guess the best stuff never lasts long.
Are you tweaking? This is how I've always
No,
sounded.
come on, you can't do that! Now that I've paid my entry fee and surrendered all of my mortal possessions to Suda, please don't scuff my magic decks, by the way, I can talk about No More Heroes 3. It's a hard game to write about because it's set squarely in the vein of other Grasshopper works, but it feels so unique stacked against the others. I guess it's the total pastiche of aesthetics on display. Some of these visuals are crazy. Crazy enough that I can't f***ing see. Even the vibe is different, highlighting a galactic conflict with greater stakes than any other in the franchise, and a meaningful shift in the narrative towards community. Game's fun too, that helps a bit. Let me add a disclaimer though, full retail price for a game like this is steep, okay? You're not getting DMC5, you're getting a game with a superior version launching this fall, and currently the city runs like this. And even though the combat runs smoothly, maybe wait and see. No More Heroes 3 opens with arcades and E.T. You can't make this stuff up. Studio Ghibli did E.T. I think I hear the budget flushing away. The premise is great. Travis already became a top-ranked assassin world over. He's against all odds, peerless. So we take a page out of the writer's room guidebook. Let's see here. Right. Escalation. Aliens attack the Earth, leaving havoc and destruction in their wake. I bet most people are pretty indifferent about Fu. He's just a big dumb alien. And he's a petulant obnock. Yeah, I said it. But Fu's a great villain for Travis. Contrasts the character perfectly. Fu's an alien warlord, more or less, who's conquered multiple planets and made a bunch of galactic prisoners his allies, presumably by force. He's only really concerned with power and has no real ties to the people around him. We even watch the guy develop something akin to friendship with his own generals, only as they're sent off to die against Travis. In Dungeons & Dragons terms, Fu is the embodiment of a chaotic individual, the paragon of a chaotic society, because he and his underlings exhibit the mark of a chaotic society. They're only really concerned with power.
Are you okay with a life of submission?
Well, that's how I've lived.
Contrast with Travis, who's posed as the representative of Earth, #1 in the global power rankings, having fought every battle fairly when he could get it, down to the very last goddamn slice. He started concerned with power, but pivoted very strongly partway through the series. He earned everything, but he did it within the rules of the system, and more importantly, he walked away from it all twice. He started his journey as a thoughtless, immature killer, and ended his journey, at least in Travis Strikes Again, as a reflective, just warrior. He established bonds with other warriors in his period of growth and has the support of a like-minded community. He's become the paragon of a lawful society. The humans, by virtue of their characterization, cast the aliens as genuinely alien. It's good-ass conflict writing. I'm having fun again. I like this game.
I even put a smiley face in this script. Yeah.
The story plays out predictably with the deaths of many, many aliens, and unpredictably with so many twists and turns. I feel like I'm in 9th grade PE, but we're gonna put a pin in that because the game comes first. Spoilers second. On the surface, 3 looks like a total retread of the first game, complete with ultra murder, boring side jobs, and absurd deathmatch entry fees. Yeah! Glad you're excited, Travis. But plenty of the experience is different, and sometimes I can't tell if it's due to budget constraints or the very Suda need to make a different game every time. I get that too. That's why you get silly Lamau time video and self-serious religion talk. Stay guessing, chump. The combat's never really been the selling point of these games. I think it's character and everything that falls into that vague category, but 3 made a point of fleshing out combat sufficiently, lowering enemy counts significantly, turning the system into a tight, energetic ride from start to finish. I mean, it's still a slash 'em up, ultimately, but they pulled the Death Glove abilities from TSA over, and they work great in a 3D action game. Teleporting across the room to dropkick a projectile-spamming enemy is an incredible feeling. If you ever played Wesker or Virgil in MVC3, you know what I'm talking about. And speaking of which, multiple enemy types beyond Big Brute and Mook exist. Dudes who can ruin your day with a move. Dudes who get in your business. Dudes who block. It's a challenging game, and probably the greatest triumph of of gameplay in general. I actually had to think for once. That never happens in these games. That said, particle effects and ass-sniffing enemies make for some really obnoxious cheap shots, but it's usually not an issue. You end up doing a lot of micro-conflicts. The game drops stages almost entirely, breaking the world into hubs and kill rooms you spawn into. It's a bit of a disservice to the fans to avoid levels in general. No matter how you slice it, the game's not really selling you a world like the other games. But there are malls and back alleys and arenas. It's not some great loss. It just makes the game feel budget, which, well,
90 Canadian bones! You know, back in my day, they made fun of me for buying 2 human.
but it's still willing to throw a wrench in a game flow, dropping shooter segments, a haunted school.
I don't want to play this game. It's scary.
It's still No More Heroes. I'm just personally having trouble adjusting to this Unreal Engine stuff. God, they look like 3D printed people, dude, with a gloss finish. Ew! No More Heroes 3 runs back the original formula. Make money, do a level, make money, repeat 6 hours. I'm struggling to think of something bad to say. I was annoyed in the first game at times because I wanted to get back on track, and grinding minigames for cash is annoying, but Santa Destroy with its cel-shaded aesthetics was fun to hang out in, and the jobs added character to something that was otherwise pretty boring. No More Heroes 3, though others have affectionately called the Barren Zones satire. But I'm not sponsored, nor did I receive this product for free, so they're okay. Jobs make more money than before, so they're viable income. You're forced through a certain number of kill missions to advance. The world is big and really bland, and it's not really up for debate. I'd say it's my biggest disappointment overall, but not deal-breaking. There's all kinds of side content, and you can ignore almost everything if you want, so thanks for helping me stay healthy, Grasshopper. Genuinely. On the other hand, I never needed the equally cursed knowledge and visual of the titty lady being a tree. Why'd you even do that? Why'd you even go and do that? Let's close out gameplay with bosses and the wheel. One thing I failed to mention is the wheel system. Dying prompts a spin for a potential bonus. The bonuses range from a full continue, right from where you died, activating an overpowered super mode, or losing your battery charge at the start of the fight. Yeah, thanks dickhead, cool wheel. If I'm being honest, I mostly got the hyper fat mode. That means I would lose to a boss, embarrassingly, spin the wheel, get the bonus, and turn the guy inside out in the run back. It's crazy. On one hand, thanks for letting me get through the game. On the other, I straight up did not learn some of these boss fights. At least you can play them later in the lab if you really want to. Otherwise, there's not much to talk about. They get lengthy scripted cutscenes to flesh them out, and cutscenes with food to flesh out both the ultimate villain and the mooks, but they're harder to care about, mostly because they look like pieces of construction paper held together with glue, and because they're not part of the world No More Heroes is selling. They've gone beyond the scope of the work, literally galactic, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just somehow even harder to remember these guys.
Oh snap! Snap, crackle, and pippity, poppity, pow! Criticized?
Half of them get scrapped by a kill snatcher anyway. You're not really meant to care about them. What's endearing is playing musical chairs before the actual boss fight. Like, they just present musical chairs to you as an actual conflict, and just like Travis, I want to kick everyone's ass at it. Good work, guys. You get JRPGs. Suda said it first. JRPGs are for everyone, and shut the hell up with that not for me crap. Sip some tea and uncurl your spine, bro. Before we move to the ending, though, I heard a lot about not understanding the story. Kind of in the vein of Travis Strikes Again for all its references to past pseudo work. But what's there to understand? It's a game where you kill people to save the world. It literally doesn't get more basic. As a reminder, No More Heroes 1 punished the player for caring about the world by throwing out expectations of an honest ending. You might not recognize every character if you're not up to date, but just let it go and take in the spectacle.
Welcome to Kimmy's Palace! This'll be your grave! I'll cut off your balance!
Who the fuck is this? Oh, motherfucker! Leave it to me to miss an optional boss in the second game. I had no idea who this was, because I didn't use a guide. Just flat out missed her. But isn't that kind of great? The games have extra content for people who go digging, and even when Suda's not fully at the helm, the games are still self-referential. For all I said about 1 not caring about its story or world, No More Heroes, the franchise, does. It rewards longtime fans for being around. Though I guess he really does kill her in the end. Kill the past?
Keep it shut or get knocked the out!
There's a temptation to poke fun at it. Every little reference to something old like,
I clapped when I saw Darth Vader!
And you have the choice to read that as cynical or celebratory. For a series like No More Heroes, one that outgrew its scope but still finds joy in itself, in its world, I think it's for the best. Dude, he even put Mike in the game. His favorite movie, man. He put Mika in the game. What is happening? And you know what? Good on Henry for becoming a screwed up guy, dropping the Irish accent. I always knew they were faking that shit anyway. Both these characters have gone through arcs. Even if Henry's hasn't been totally fleshed out on screen per se, both characters have dropped the pretense of glorifying their actions. They're just kind of crummy people who've got to work to find some kind of meaning in this world. I won't spend too much time on the ending, but exactly what you'd expect happens, with a twist. I'm not interested in spending time on it because I don't think it highlights anything brilliant about the series in general. It's good fun and I'm content with it. Also, all these people show up and there's all these reveals. What's going on? Jesus, you'd think they're moving on from No More Heroes to TSA 2. Maybe do a game like Darksiders Genesis. Dear God. One of the things I've realized in writing this is I don't care almost at all for the world or the characters. They don't really speak to me like I feel they speak to others. But hey, I have my own tastes, and I'm not super into fourth wall breaks, self-referential writing, and unbelievability. But it's still fun to play. A totally unique experience. I haven't laughed out loud during play as much or felt so strongly about a work in months. If Grasshopper can stick the landing later this year, I'm sure it'll be a classic, regardless of sales. That was No More Heroes, a series that arcs from cynicism about the corrupt and misguided nature of humankind and all their petty rules and constructs into something genuine, hopeful, about liking your junk, about coalescing as a community. People might take issue with that to some extent. The games were always about unabashedly sticking to your beliefs and your likes. That's never changed. But by the end of this series, it's not about Travis being a weird otaku. It's about us embracing the weird because all of that small judgmental shit this species gets up to isn't worth it, especially in the face of death. Musical theater, romantic era poetry, Dragonlance, World of Warcraft circa 2004, Magic the Gathering, old dead video games, horrible anime fighters, Soul Calibur, edgy sophomoric stuff. We have fun here because life is hard as but we're pushing through it anyway. You've got your anchor, the river's fast, but you gotta ship out into the horizon. That's the No More Heroes way. That's Kill the Past. Hey, it's KBash. Huge thanks goes out to my $4 patrons whose names are on the screen. The show's finally getting somewhere thanks to the community's generosity. And special thanks goes to my extra generous patrons who are... Adam Welsh, Acropolion, Alex, Alpha 42, Andy Blarg, Arch, Axon 8, Azulus, Basement Dweller, Bearkeeper, BZ Soul, Ben M, Blake Against the Machine, Bohop, Boom Dead, Brios, Brianna Wu, Cal, Can I Cuss on Captain Here? Blasted, Captain Wave, Caesar T, Chiefy Boy, Corden, Chris Bromo, Cody Golden, Couchmo, Corgi the Lad, Crater, CW Glassworks, Cynical, Daddy Dagoth, Dondium, Dakota Storm Jones, Steak, Swaggy David Castillo, Dara, Decode, Dead, Dennis Amaya, Diablo, Dr. Cullen PhD, Dylan Coffee, 8-Bit Funk, Elias, Elpio, Elsa, Aesthetico, Everstone Isle, Fupasayan, Frankenstick, Frisky Nippler, Glyphseeker, Goose 6112, Gray, the Darkest Black, Guardcorey, Gucci Plant, Hatsune Miku's Crack House, Archive, Demon, Game & Station, Hexmax, Horn Tiger, Huey. I'm supporting KBash just because I wanted to make this part of the video longer. Ingenious Clown, I punched a sandwich, Irrational, Irradiated Cherries, Dice Kyle. It's not bad. It's time to sue. It's not good. Ivy Ruth Langley, Jacob, James, Jason Lasky, Jaden, Jaydeus, Joke Frog, Jordan Joyner, Julian My Julian, Keegan Too Cool, Kata Snack, King Kuma, Clock Crated, Crazy Dark Chocolate, Heist, Kyle, KZ Excellent, Lady Dentalian, Tricks, Laundry Mom, Lego Sid, Loathsome Dung Eater, Low Fat Moger, Lucas Boyd, Lucky McSmucky, Magical Madman, Mama Rollin, Mara Ganger, Mars Mugio, Maximilian Wolfgang Niver, Mike DeVere, Milky Moo Official, Monochrome Only, Mr. Dodongo, Mr. Whiskey 282, Nyrenew, Nito Torpedo, Dorian, Daridius, Old Burgle, Old Man Cranberry, Only LK, The Plant, Pandemic Cowboy, Pinata, PK Gaming, Popular Hitman, Potato Gaming HD, Prismatic Dan, Fractal and Pals, Quasar McDougal, Quillworth, Quinn, Reasonable Willow, Reggie Rodriguez, Renteca Bond, Ricochet Frame, Ringed Relay, Rube, Ryan Maury Brooks, Sagitrash, Siren Smells Good, Salty Smasher, Scribe Slendy, Sakai no Award, Shod, Silver Bear 909, God! Sleepy Wabbit, Suckdolager, Space Lizard, Spooky Grimalkin, Squidged, Squishword, Starbound, Stormstrider, Sublime Cataclysm, Super Sandwich Guy, George Chubbington, The Big Bubby, The Salt Knight, Dick Mystic, Thrips Heartthrob, Timid the Writer, Total Play, Travis Edwards, Twiddle Chungus, Vid, Valenrist, Venom, Vice Pup, Viewers Like You, Vic, Waposa, Weed Trash, Well Shit, Waylon, Where Am I Help? Winter Solstice, Win TV, Zanny Tanner, Yashichi, Yate Kundo, Zachary Livesey, Zachary Zanasso, Zane the Impure, Zane the Pure, Zeradax, Zed Slayer Gamer, Zero Zalazar, Sylvan Ray, Cyberbunk. If you'd like to help support the show, unlock new long-form projects, and help me keep improving, check out my Patreon. We got all kinds of goals and lots more videos in store. Stay tuned for more. KBash out.